I played with your... Hey everybody, welcome into the Creed of Crypto live stream. My name is Boi Crypto. I have here with me, as always, my friend and co-host Crypto Ewok. We are here for a big show tonight, and as you can see by the thumbnail,
sound like Britney Spears was here too. Is it?
I think she made an appearance. Yeah, I know she's been.
All right.
From what I've heard, I think she's been she's run into some tough times anyway.
Okay.
What stuff I've seen from Instagram and stuff like that. But we're going to be talking about tonight. Massive cope. Have crypto prices gotten even the great Richard Hart down? We're going to go over one of his tweets from a few days ago, kind of discussing that, as PulseChain seems to hopefully be recovering off of basically retouching the all-time lows. We're going to talk about that and a lot more. We got a lot of interesting cases going on regarding the PulseChain and Hex ecosystem here, especially one that's kind of opened up again after a few years. We're going to get to that and a lot more. We have some bullish news from the Hex God Whale we found out the other day, some new onboarding tools into PulseChain as well, which is very, very exciting. We're going to get to that. There's a lot going on. We got a lot of topics to get to tonight. So if you guys are pouring in, do us a favor, smash the like to support the channel, support Real DeFi. We appreciate you guys being here. Take a break with Jake, obviously, the producer of the show. Welcome in DJ Moonboy as well. Acid Thunder and more will pour in as the show goes on. So welcome in all of you guys. Ewok, how are you feeling this evening?
I'm feeling good. Hump day, halfway there. Get to go on vacation here on Saturday, so headed out of town and looking forward to that. But yeah, the markets are, I think, I dare I say we've bottomed. Probably not.
Yeah.
But there's a definite appearance that things are starting to maybe bottom out, turn around. We'll have to see. But, long as these lettuce hands can keep their hands in their pocket instead of on the sell button, we'll be okay.
We can hope anyway. And I would agree with you. I mean, it does look like things are floating up anyway from, just that such irrational, huge drop we had in the overall crypto market and just markets in general a couple of weekends ago. But yeah, here's hoping that was it. We can't know for sure. I think it might take a few weeks here to kind of confirm that, and figure that out actually, but we're going to see. BTC and ETH anyway right now. So it was interesting, and we'll get to this in a moment. Not that there's too much to cover, but the United States CPI data did come out today, and I don't know how legitimate the number actually is, but inflation came out at 2.9%, just shy of the 3% that people were expecting. So you would figure that medium term anyway, it would lead to kind of some bullish action in the markets. We had a sell the news kind of off of it today a little bit, but at least it wasn't some disastrously high number that, is leading to even, further speculation of emergency rate cuts or anything, even though we think that's likely here in September. But we have Bitcoin at just below 59K right now. ETH has gone up to just about 2,700, a little bit below that right now, but at least it has come up a bit after that disastrous weekend, like we said a couple of weekends ago, where it wicked the whole way down to 2,100 for a short period of time. But its ratio against BTC is still pretty pathetic, so we'll kind of look at that too. But it is really good. I mean, we'd be remiss if we didn't kind of keep an eye on the big picture here, in that Bitcoin has moved up and had at least one weekly close where it needed to, out of that danger territory after that really rough weekend a couple weekends ago. So we have seen it go up. We've seen it get well over 60K before this pull off today. So that is nice to see. I guess we can look at both charts, maybe even the ETH to BTC chart. You were talking about that with me before we went on the air here, Ewok. But where do we go from here? And as we head into the fall, because I think that, I don't know if we're going to see anything change way too much with Bitcoin anyway, at least until end of September. And again, we are heavily expecting rate cuts to be coming in September of at least 25 basis points, with a potential of 50 still as an outside shot. So yeah, what do you make of what we're seeing right now?
Well, taking a look at the Ethereum, this is the US dollar chart that we were actually talking about. And last week on Wednesday, we had this red candle right in here. And this is where I was saying, we're running out of time in this falling wedge channel, that something was probably going to happen, relatively quickly. And sure enough, the very next day, this green candle started and just shot right up and out of here. Mm-hmm. So when I say we've bottomed, that's kind of what I'm referring to. we're pretty excited for the Ethereum chart to take off, right? Because that's technically what will start the run for everything, for PulseChain especially, because the liquidity is tied so heavily together. So, this is the one when I said bottomed out. Now the PulseChain prices could go a little bit lower probably off of that, but this is where we're really excited to see. So as far as the ratio, we've also pulled out of that massive slump last week. We were down here in the we had just gotten back up into the 0.04 range. We did raise up to close to 0.046.
Yeah.
Kind of pulled back just a hair a little bit back down to 0.044. So, this is obviously, we want the corrections to happen as this rises too. We don't want it to go parabolic like this green candle, because it almost always comes right crashing back down. So, we want this to be a healthy increase too on the Bitcoin ratio. So looking good. As far as Bitcoin goes, still in this pretty much sideways channel. Not a whole lot of change. It ranges anywhere from 54 all the way up to 73. I mean, I know that's a pretty large channel, but it's just not really doing anything outside of that. So more sideways action there. It's kind of like poking the bear and do something kind of thing. So
yeah,
that's where we're at with that.
And I think that is, like I said, I think that's where we'll be with BTC here for the next few weeks anyway. I mean, the real action, I mean, the rate cuts are definitely going to do something. I think we'll see something in the, days and week or two after that. And then, of course, the big election coming in the fall, which we've been talking about that stuff so much that maybe there's not much time to get into that this week. We'll see what happens. But, I think that is, you, me, and a friend were talking the other day about, the potential of, Kamala winning, and everybody's senses are just so heightened right now that I think crypto people are starting to get to the point where they're like, oh, if she wins, I mean, it's done. We're done. Bull market's called off. And I know it's not a popular opinion probably in crypto circles, but to me, I mean, clearly I would rather her not win, but if she did, and we get something similar to what happened in the last election, I think that the 4-year cycle is still here to say I'm not like in any way going to be bearish on crypto. I just think it's going to be better in the short term, and it's going to, better legislature is probably on the horizon with the Trump presidency. I mean, like everybody would.
Yeah.
Think, so.
Well, my opinion is the bull market is still here. I just think we do much better under a different administration. That's all. I think, I think we're still going to see sizable gains this cycle, but it could be better. I think with the Republican side of things, just there's more bullish sentiment. There's more backing it. There's less fighting it. The more time people have to spend fighting initiatives and trying to get things through, or lobbying for whatever, and just the less time that is spent, the more time that can be done onboarding new people. So, I definitely think there is an outcome. They're both bullish, but one is more bullish than the other.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't know if the Harris election, her being elected would be bullish, but I mean, either way, we're in a bull market. So, I mean, I think people are like looking way too deeply into the election, pretty much like happens with everybody about every issue, every single election. That's just what people are going to do. Right. So, the main thing is it sucks, but it's kind of just still continuing like with these two, with Bitcoin and Ethereum, just waiting for Ethereum to float up against Bitcoin. And until it starts to do that, it's just a waiting game. You just have to have faith that eventually we're going to see that close the gap and see the altcoin index start to close on Bitcoin. So I know we have plenty of people out there doing victory laps about Bitcoin the last few weeks and months, but that means there's still opportunity to buy for us right now. So that's the nice thing about that. Looking at the PulseChain ecosystem, so still flirting with the all-time lows. We have seen some upward trajectory over the last couple of days, but the all-time low of 4 zeros and a 333, or I think is what it's been. We're basically there. I mean, we're still in those lows, which is why I've been trying to DCA anything I can possibly get into the market ASAP. We can look, well, we'll look at the prices. Then I want to get into a comment that you actually made, Ewok, about these the other day. But we do have Pulse right now at 4 zeros and a 365. Pulse X is at 4 zeros and a 2, basically. That ratio, of course, Pulse X still holding up unbelievably strong against Pulse. Hex at 0047. E-Hex is at 0011. And incentive is at 187 right now. So, hey, I mean, we're at the bottom of the barrel. Like, and the interesting thing, and we don't have to get way too into this, but I was saying this to you guys the other day, like, if you think about, you know, if you're looking at your portfolio and you're mainly like an RH token investor and you look at it now versus a calendar year ago, and you think of, you know, we were at the all-time lows at this time last year. Pulse, anyway, is revisiting them now. Hex is there. But if you were heavily DCAing and, you know, really kind of splitting between all the tokens, which is what we probably would have recommended and what we certainly did, you'd notice now that your PulseX bags are way, way higher because that ratio is just so much better. I mean, I don't know off the top of my head exactly where the ratio was a calendar year ago, but I'd be willing to bet that it was 1 to 3, basically, that ratio. And now, you know, it's under 1 to 2 for PulseX. So, yeah, you'll notice that you have a lot more USD value in your PulseX now, whereas, you know, your Pulse is pretty much back to where it was. So that's incredible, obviously. But yeah, if you want to take it whatever direction you want to, Ewok, we can kind of look at the Pulse chart, see if it looks like we're going to get out of this area, and if we're rounding off, maybe bottoming out and getting out of here anytime soon. But yeah, give me your thoughts on that. And then I'll bring up something that you said to me the other day that you can expand on too.
Yeah, I mean, there is definitely we still, well, yeah, we did too. We've come close enough as this would make essentially a triple bottom on this. So you had this one big green candle here, you had another touch back here, and then this one finally as well touched that level too. So you know, it was that 0.33. It's close enough. It's within, you know, micro pennies. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely has the shape. I mean, you know, if anything, a couple more days, if not a week or so, you know, it's going to be a matter of watching for the, you know, run up here again. Anything bullish, and then if there's more sell-off, you're going to see it right away. I mean, you know, there's still traders out there trying to play the game, and the thing that we can hope for is, you know, you get a nice big investor coming in on one of these where they think it might be a local top here or whatever, and try and turn it so that they can buy back in later, and it just runs away from them. That happens enough times, and a lot of these guys lose their ammunition to continue trading. So essentially, that's what this whole game is about: is trying to weed out some of those people before they have a chance to buy back in at a lower and continue the process. So, yeah, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, this is looking like, you know, again, triple. You know, you can almost count this one again as 4. The more times you hit a resistance, one of two things are going to happen. You're going to eventually chip through it, or it's just going to turn very, very hard to get through, and it's going to turn bullish. One of these times, I think, and I'm really hoping that this is the time that things turn bullish. Like I said, we're seeing Ethereum start to go, and this is on the same trajectory. So if Ethereum continues to rise, I think this is going to follow suit.
I think so for sure too, and also because we know that the Pulse versus ETH ratio has also been crawling up and been looking really good over the last few weeks. So that is definitely good. And you kind of just echoed what you were saying to me the other day in the chat, but you were saying that the more people lose hope right now, the more the ecosystem can really take off, and the benefits of getting the big sellers all out right now, obviously, as we're at the lows. I mean, we're at the point where, I mean, like, it's essentially at all-time lows. I mean, we're splitting hairs by not saying that. Many people have given up hope and think it's a joke, which, you know, I mean, it's kind of not even that controversial as it would have been, a few months back for somebody to say that PulseChain's a joke, it's failed, blah, blah, blah. Like, obviously, we don't agree with that, but I mean, you're not triggering as many people saying that right now, I feel like, for the people that are participating in that kind of shit on Twitter anyway.
Yeah,
Um, you
exactly.
know, so are you seeing that too, or does it just, or maybe mine just not on Twitter enough? But that's what it seems like to me, that like people that say that, it's just triggering less and less people because people are just like getting kind of apathetic at this point.
Yeah, they're most of the people are gone, or they're
Hmm.
just not on Twitter anymore. They're not there to counteract the bullish. You've got the I don't want to call her a cheerleader, but KDP, she's always been bullish. Like she's not really changed her tone this whole time. And you always see the people that try to respond and be like, "You guys are down this amount" or whatever. And
Yeah.
you are seeing less and less of that. So that's what happens. People lose faith; they just go away. So the sooner that happens, the more it can run because you don't have that negativity. You don't have the FUD. You don't have the constant negative talk. So it definitely helps out. This Pulse X Pulse chart is looking really really good too.
Yeah.
So you look at even the USD chart isn't bad. Um, it's looking a lot better than Pulse because there was really only one bottom here for that. It's not
Hmm.
cooperating here with me, but back
Yeah. We
here in
lost another
September,
zero.
um, what's that?
Yeah. Pulse X, this is Pulse X you're talking about, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, it
yeah,
lost it added a zero, I should say. It'd be nice if it lost a zero, but yeah, it
right,
added a zero way back then. Yeah, it was
right.
crazy.
Yeah, back here, back in September
Hmm.
was its true bottom. Whereas you look at Pulse and you've got four touches almost on the bottom level.
Hmm.
This one only had one, so it's kind of interesting. Maybe it's that buy and burn that's coming into play, but there was really only one touch on this level, and it's been up, and we're making higher lows uh, ever since. Each one of these
Yeah,
is a constant trend line up. So pretty interesting. And that's the
yeah,
USD level. And then you look at the, Pulse X versus Pulse, and it's just it's pretty
up
much
only.
up only. I mean, you had these two little dips down here, but for the most part, it's just been rising. So that's very bullish.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's really good to see that from both of them. And yeah, it's just kind of waiting it out still now. I mean, again, at these prices, I mean, just to think, putting in perspective, I said this last week, but we're a calendar year removed from the previous lows. We're basically there again for Pulse anyway, that we're there for Hex. Um, I mean, this is just I have to buy. I mean, it's an automatic auto buy at this point. So, and even at the point, like if you are somebody who like tries to take leverage, and I mean literal leverage, but like leverage in the way of like meme coins or other tokens and stuff to get leverage on the ecosystem of ones that you believe in. I mean, for me, I'm almost back. I'm back to being more interested in just like buying the straight core tokens right now, just because everything is completely butchered. Other than, I mean, yeah, USD PulseX is pretty much butchered, I guess. But I mean, it's performing well against Pulse, as we've said, but everything is just so low right now. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
So I'm taking advantage of it. So is
Yep.
that Hex you got up there?
Yeah, it's looking.
Yeah. What do you? We're gonna get there. Brownies midlife, the Hex class action update. We're gonna get to that here in a bit. But speaking of Hex, you've got the chart up. This is good because we so rarely pull up the Hex chart here. Really, we're at new lows. I mean, we basically have like touched new all-time lows for Hex on PulseChain. That's just over a year old. So, what do you make of that and getting it out of here? Because it's not a great look right now. But if you want it and are gonna buy it, which I have been, then it's a
Yeah.
good price. So, what do
Well,
you
no,
think?
it's not a great look. It's double bottomed here at this what is it? It's about right around the 4.2 level,
Hmm.
0.042 ish. Again, the more times you test it and see how strong it is, it's run up both times. The last time it touched it, I mean, there were some really nice candles all the way up to 0.007. So,
Hmm.
let's see what this one does here. If it keeps testing this level, could break lower, but when you talk about Hex, there's also always multiple facets to it, right? You have to figure in T-shares, and those T-shares keep getting more expensive. Even though the price is down, T-share price will still go up. And to lock them in now, it's getting harder and harder to do. So.
And it's even crazier right now, like because Hex is so cheap. I didn't even realize this, but even if you are somebody like, let's say, because I know like staking Hex long term is not the fad of this cycle. Not just Hex, but like a lot of the DeFi yield stuff that we had in the last cycle, people are just not doing as much now. Like Phantom was a gigantic thing last cycle and had all kinds of stuff in Spooky Swap and all these yield farms. I don't hear anything about it anymore. Matter of fact, they rebranded and stuff like that too. But for people who may not be as interested in the idea of 15-year stakes and stuff like that, which let's face it, I mean, less people seem to be, but and you know, you have a whole new set of investors now that are into PulseChain for PulseChain and into PulseX for PulseX and some of the other things that have been built upon it. People should know, though, I mean, there's even pretty great benefit in short-term staking Hex right now, I think. Like, I mean, first off, you can get a big bag for nothing because look at the price. I mean, that's just where it is. If you wanted to do, and I know many people are talking about doing this, but I mean, if you just wanted to play it safe and do short-term, and yes, I understand that, you know, for Hex diehards and stuff like that, they might feel like this is a waste, but I mean, people have different time horizons. People have different investment whatever. So that's just how it goes. But you can get a decent amount of T-shares even staking short term right now. Like, first off, you can get a good bag. And even for like, if you wanted to do literally even 30 days, you could get a handful or more of T-shares pretty easily, actually. And even that, I mean, if you wanted to time it a little bit more or just be safe, you could, you know, punt it out into the spring or into March or April or something like that. I mean, you're getting a pretty decent amount of T-shares for not a lot of money right now. You know?
No, for sure. And, you know, Silverstone, I do want to address this comment. He claims he put over $5 million into Hex and Pulse, wanting to know if he got scammed.
I don't believe him at all. He's spamming the chat pretty hardcore. But
yeah. If you haven't been buying in at these levels to obviously lower your initial cost, then I don't think you're probably playing it correctly. No, you didn't get scammed. The contract still works just as it should. My friend told me BTC is better.
That's
yeah, okay.
Yeah, all right. Really worried
so
about this
either way, again, back to the T-share price. You know, when this first started back in 2019, one T-share was 10,000 Hex. Now we are well over 30,000 Hex per T-share. So, you know, in that time, it's tripled. It's 3 times harder to get. So, you know, yes, short term, fine. But if you're willing to work at a job, put your 401k in, those things are in there for what, 30 years usually till you can retire. You'd be kind of, I hate to say you'd be foolish, but why not put a $500 stake out 15 years and lock them up and just see what happens? I mean, it could be life-changing money. Then again, it's only $500. Most people blow that in a month or so just eating out. So I don't know. That's still my take on it. I'm still laddered out 15 years. I will continue to ladder 15 years. Every month I'll put a new one out for 15 years. I'll just continue to keep doing it. So I haven't lost the faith in it. And, you know, until you sell, you really haven't taken a loss. And it's hard to say that maybe the fad is gone. But for me, that's kind of what draws. That's what's drawing me in even more to want to do it, is because less people are. So I know right now at that time when these things become ready and, you know, mature, it's going to be probably pretty high up on there. I could go probably to a shark level, maybe even whale at that point for the amount of T-shares that I have then. Because I know Crispy was saying, I think there's only 39,000 T-shares currently that are staked out in the year, what is it, 2039, which is the 15 years.
15, yeah.
Only 39,000 T-shares total. You know, right now there's over 200 200,000 out there, or maybe more. So either way, I think it's worth a punt for a lot of people, if especially if you're younger, and you definitely have a 15-year window that you're not really too worried about. It's in my opinion definitely worth it.
Yeah, $500 a month to eat out. I mean, some of us don't have to pay anything for that Ewok. There's something I was thinking about. If you want to eat out, 500 a night at the Lily Spa, says Dejin Moonboy. Yeah, I mean, hey, it's to each his own. I mean, like, you're never going to have people agree on like 5555 hex stakes, doing a staking ladder, short-term hex stakes. We're just not going to have people agree. I mean, sure. I'm with you. Yeah. I mean, if you have the ability to punt on a 15-year one, even if it's less than $500 or something small, yeah, why not? I mean, I don't think there's any harm in that, especially now that we have PulseChain. But there's many different ways you can go about it. So whatever makes sense for you. I'm not going to tell anybody what to do, but that's why so many people suggest ladders, because you kind of cover all bases. You know what I mean? So yeah. I think that's probably good.
Yeah, to each his own. That's just I'm just talking about what I'm doing and what I would recommend to somebody. I'm not saying put all your everything out there and make, like Kareem did and made a dream wallet and everything is 15 years. So nothing's available at the top of this next bull market, or maybe there are other wallets, but that one particular one, it's all 15 years. So yeah, I'm not saying that either. I think you wisely play your cycles, but it doesn't hurt to throw something out there a little bit.
Yeah. If you guys are here and enjoying the stream so far, do us a favor, hit the like button. We appreciate you being here. We do this every single Wednesday night at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Let's get into speaking about the price action. We'll talk about RH real quick, because he did make an interesting tweet a couple of days ago. I did resend it to you before the show, Ewok, if you wanted to pull it up. Kind of talking about prices and how prices may not be indicative of the true value of a token and things like that. We'll read exactly what he said, but a lot of people were quick to point to this and be like, oh, it sounds like RH is in cope mode and all this stuff, which I thought was pretty interesting. And I wanted to get your take on it, Ewok, and the chat. I'd love to hear the chat chime in as well once we read this tweet. So there it is. So Richard said, this was August 10th, so 4 days ago. Price isn't the best indicator of a coin's quality. If it were, then Bitcoin and ETH dropping 95% occasionally would have meant they sucked. In fact, they were amazing and two of the best performing assets of all time. Unfortunately, quite many coins do actually suck, and occasionally the price action matches their intrinsic suctitude. Good word. Germany dumped billions. Gox released billions. Numerous bankruptcies ate hundreds of millions in legal fees and dumped dispersed billions. That likely also caused a lot of taxable events that wouldn't have otherwise happened. A rare bunch of liquidity events in short succession doesn't speak to the quality and function of real cryptocurrency. You see a lot of people get quite upset, including me, there you go, that prices aren't giving the constant dopamine of all-time highs, as so often the 4-year cyclical case. Maybe those times are just around the corner. Volatility is the price you pay for the world's best performing asset. TLDR, price up, people think anything is good. Price down, people think anything is bad. In reality, price discovery is a messy process, and things real value is hard to ascertain. Bitcoin off financial advice. So that last sentence, I mean, is definitely true. Price discovery is a messy process. Yeah. I mean, you're going to have disastrous ups and downs and all the roller coasters you can take for years on end, as you've seen if you've been in crypto for any period of time. Yeah. What do you make of that comment, though, Ewok, that this is Cope from RH, talking about the prices of things being down? Obviously, people are going to point to the purchase of Ethereum at $3,900 of a wallet associated with sacrifice funds, and ETH being down to $2,700 at the moment. PulseChain obviously returning to all-time lows and bouncing off of it here. What do you make of this tweet overall, and what do you think he's trying to say?
Well, he said two key things. All right. The first thing was the first sentence. Price isn't the best indicator of a coin's quality. He's probably referring to Hex right now when he's saying that, or meaning Hex. And then the next thing that he says down here is you see a lot of people quite upset, and you're not getting that dopamine, but maybe those times are right around the corner. I think that's kind of his way of saying, all right, guys, this is probably the bottom. So those two things, I think, is what I took out of that whole thing. You know, and especially this first part, you know, just because the price is down means people aren't right now valuing it where it should be. That'll all change. That'll all change. Again, green candles tend to do that, right? And I also think which we'll talk about later, but some of these court cases are definitely going to have a positive effect too, because you know Hex and Richard Hart in general has been nothing but gatekept for 4 or 5 years now. You know, this is all going to change. I really think this is all going to change. So that's what I got out of it. Those two key points is Richard's basically saying, well, here we are. This is probably the bottom. Or maybe those times are just around the corner where you're getting that constant dopamine of all up. Yeah, you don't look at the price to see what is really valuable. You know, that's what I got.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, it's interesting to see him admit, you know, being, you know, occasionally getting upset because prices aren't where you want them to be. I mean, like, he is only human, I guess. But yeah, it is weird to see that. I already put that one up there, Ewok, as well as that one, but that's okay if you just want to keep, you know, redundancy
Hey,
going.
I'm just gonna keep bouncing.
Just there you go. Yeah, spam it. But yeah, the sentiment is lower. You know, when nobody thought Ethereum would be struggling this badly, I think, at this point. You know, now the year's not over. We have a whole extra quarter to go with a shit ton of events happening in it that we've already discussed tonight. But yeah, it's one of those things where I went on this rant last week, and I wish I remember the commenter's name, but I really appreciated what he said in response to it. But we talked about the idea of outcome independence and not I don't mean like constantly moving the goalposts when it comes to price or time or whatever else. You know, Ewok and I are not like influencers. We aren't paid. We aren't. I mean, YouTube pays us a meager wage for the views that we get, but I mean, we're not. We talk about these things basically for free because we want to talk about them, and it's, you know, what we are interested in.
Yeah.
So we don't have like specific 100% set in stone expectations or anything like that. And it's one of those things where I just feel much better when I'm investing and along the journey if I'm able to divorce the actual results that I expect from, you know, wanting it every single day, and just stop thinking about a time frame. Stop thinking about, dude, we only got a year left. Like, this thing better get moving. You're going to be panicked. You're going to have anxiety, and you're not going to feel good. So it's like, okay, think more about the process, think more about the behaviors, and doing what you need to do every single day. Like, there's no reason to bitch, and you're not going to feel better by bitching if you know in your mind and your heart of hearts you're not going to invest in anything else. Like, if this is what you believe is the winner this cycle, which obviously we would both deeply feel that way, I'm going to keep DCAing blindly. I mean, I'm just not going to, maybe I'll look at some price levels and make a, informed DCA, but like, I'm just going to keep doing the same thing and sit back and relax and wait, and not think about the results so much. So,
no, I agree. And I think, if you are looking for that dopamine hit, then crypto is probably not the right place to be, because when you do experience that final bull run, that blow off top that we all look for, it happens in such a short period of time. And then you've got, 3.5 years of just torture and pain. If you're that addicted to it, you should probably find yourself something else that brings you enjoyment, because for the time of a full cycle, and your only time you're really getting those dopamine hits is a very condensed portion of that. Yeah, you're in the wrong business.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to have a horrible time. I can attest to it. Ewok can attest to it. People that have been here for a cycle or two can attest to it. Like,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, if you're on the pulse, no pun intended, of crypto every single day, covering it like as much as we do, or some of the other channels and stuff like that, the overwhelming majority of your experience is going to be horrible. Like, it's just so funny. Now, I mean, if you, I'll say that with the caveat, like with a qualifier of like, if you're constantly wanting price to go up and you're so attached to it, yeah, you're going to have a horrible experience. But
Yeah.
if you can divorce yourself, have a long-term mindset and be thinking like, okay, like as soon as whenever this cycle does top, assuming it hasn't already, knock on every piece of wood I can find, um, you know, you know that it's going to be absolute utter horrible pain for 3+ years. Like
Yep.
if you look
Yep.
back at September to December of 2021, it was the beginning of the end and just hurt, pain all the way through. And then
Yeah.
2022, relentless, just curb stompage of you and your bags. I mean, that's just how it's going to be. So, yeah,
Yep.
not to end off on a horrible point like that, but
balls of steel. That's what it really takes to make it through these okay, and just know what's coming on the other side. Being here before twice now allows me to know what's coming. So these prices don't bother me too much. I'm already pretty much mostly invested. I still DCA here and there, but the majority of the money and the capital that I wanted to put in, I've put in. So, I'm there. I'm just now. It's just a waiting game.
Yeah. Yep, that's pretty much it. So just try to divorce yourself from those results and focus on the process. I think it's the best thing everybody can do. Turning our attention from that, and I think I sent you this one, Ewok. So let's get to this, the appeals court reversing the district court decision on Hex versus CoinMarketCap. We had Brownies, I forget his full name, asking about this earlier, but we definitely have to talk about this. This is insane. It came out of nowhere, and you just mentioned a few minutes ago, Ewok, like some bullish, interesting little things with some cases happening right now that could be, maybe I didn't have the nuclear herbs one up. Maybe I can pull that up, but I know it's like a book, so I'm not sure if I can really read through that entire thing. But, well, I'll just say this first. So, first off, Hex Scout tweeted this. This is just a quick and dirty of it. The appeals court reversed the district. First off, let's set this up. So I'll let you do it because you were really more so around for it. So tell everybody, if they don't know, what this Hex and CoinMarketCap/Binance lawsuit was. Johnny Chaos was in the chat earlier. He obviously knows much about it as well. But tell us what this was from the get-go there, Ewok.
Yeah, let me get I want to get the tweet that you're referring to. We'll go to there, and
I don't even know if I'll send it now. It's just
the Hex Scout one, right?
Yeah. And they linked the article. Yeah.
So where this all came about was early in the day, when Hex was first listed on CoinMarketCap. Started to grow, got some traction. They automatically locked it at number 201 on the ranking. It stayed there forever. There were a couple times where, the manual gatekeeping of it, they must have done an update or something like that. And it went back to its normal place. As it slowly crept up, at one point, we got to number 3 overall market cap, behind Bitcoin, Ethereum, Hex. It had passed Cardano, it had passed BNB, it had passed Tether, USDC, all of these tokens. I mean, it made its way up through the rankings. And occasionally they would do an update or something like that, and it would show up in the right place. So these guys decided that, hey, you're affecting what people are really seeing. You claim to be a true, fair site that shows market cap based on number of tokens times price, and that's all that CoinMarketCap is the number of tokens out there times the price. And they had us locked, and it wasn't just Hex, it was several other tokens too. But either way, we had third-party sites like Yahoo Finance who were getting their API feed straight from CoinMarketCap, and they weren't changing it. So the feed was right on there. So we knew what was happening, right? It was basically because Hex isn't a token that they listed, first of all. Also a token that was meant to be staked and not traded. Well, there's another strike against them because number one, Binance didn't list it, and number two, it kind of goes against the laws of traders, right? That's where all these platforms make their money, trading fees. And it didn't do either of those. So they didn't really like what Richard stood for, being honest, truthful, trying to help people. And they just did that. So these guys got together and said, you're really hurting it's basically market manipulation, right? So you're hurting the outcome. People aren't seeing what's really going on, and we thought, well, yeah, it's affecting the price, obviously, because people are like, well, what's wrong with it? Why is it at 201? What's going on here? And they probably avoided or stayed away from it at that point. So I know Johnny was part of the retainer fee. He put the retainer fee up, and then it kind of got transferred into this Ryan Cox person who took over, as the main person. But it is a class action lawsuit against CoinMarketCap and Binance because Binance owns CoinMarketCap. CZ was behind a lot of this, and at one point it had just gotten dismissed because they said, well, it's not really, it was filed in Arizona or something like that. And they said, it's not the jurisdiction, not right jurisdiction. Well, after CZ went to jail and all this stuff had come about, and they immediately appealed it as soon as it got denied the first time. And the judges finally took a look at it and said, might be something here. From what we found with CZ and the story behind the Binance, the manipulation there was a lot of things I think that kind of rang true to this too. And they said, we're going to shoot this back to them. And because Binance was engaging in sales and things like that in the United States when they weren't really supposed to be, I think that's another reason why it got kicked back. So headed back to Arizona court, and we'll see how it plays out now that they're actually going to make them hear it and not dismiss it. So we'll see how that goes. And as far as this goes, this is basically the reversal on the original one that had dismissed it. So that's pretty much the update of what's going on. This lawsuit really never ended. They basically, lawyers were said, we're not going to make anything unless we win. So, they did get the retainer fee. They got that. But as far as I know, they're going to continue working on this because they do believe that there should be a nice settlement, paid out because of this.
Yeah. I think what most people are surprised of is just the fact that, like a lot of people, which is why I had you kind of go over this thesis from the beginning, but many people weren't even aware of this. You know what I mean? Like newer people that have, are onboarded through PulseChain and stuff may have not even known this was going on. And for this to just come out of nowhere, seemingly, again, not that it was ever closed out or anything, it was still out there, but no matter what, because it's been so long, the timing was always going to be interesting if this news came out. So it is interesting. It's interesting right now because, any dealings of anything revolving around DeFi or PulseChain, or, you got Uniswap getting sued yet again by somebody the other day. It's interesting that something seemingly good is happening. You know what I mean? Like just with all the things that are going on right now, obviously the corrupt SEC lawsuit against PulseChain and stuff like that, we're thinking that it will get dismissed for lack of jurisdiction. And at the very least, they won't really win anything out of it. But, obviously falling on their face against Ripple and totally losing that lawsuit. And it's just cool, not that this is related to them, but I mean, to see a legal thing like this being seemingly brought from the dead is pretty cool to see. Did you want to kind of touch on Nuclear Herb's tweet about it? Because it is long. I mean, I'm not going to read it.
We don't need to really read through it. There was a couple little things here. Essentially this, one of the things that he does say is that this in no way will rule it a commodity security,
right?
Even if it does, it's not going to affect the case in New York. What else does he go on to say? Yeah, no, I mean, it's very, very long. If you want to read it, I suggest doing it. But it's part of his PulseChain Law School. Hashtag PulseChain Law School. Nuclear Herbs does a great segment every so often. He'll type up this, and it is quite a lengthy read. So we don't want to read it online when you guys can go through and read it. But
I will say this, if you don't mind. He does have a TLDR at the bottom, thank God. And the second point, you already covered the first one. Like, no, this doesn't necessarily deem that Hex is a commodity. If you want to bring it up for a second, you can. But I'm just looking at the TLDR.
Yeah, that's where we're at.
The second point he makes, you still have the Hex Scout one up right now.
Oh,
as far as I'm seeing anyway.
I'm looking at my screen. Sorry. Here we go.
That's all good. I'm just the whole way down at the bottom. So the second point in the TLDR is, does anything here directly help RH in New York? No, but some of the issues, personal jurisdiction, alter ego, which is ridiculous, are present in both. So if nothing else, you can see how the courts analyze them, which is always useful. So that's cool. Like maybe some slight precedent there anyway. And yeah, that was pretty much it. So those couple points right there. So I mean, yeah, it's not linked to anything to do with the SEC case or anything, but it is a good thing. And I thought Sami said an interesting thing earlier today with a shout out to that Richard Tang guy or whoever is running Binance now. He was like, hey man, just make all of this go away and just list Hex now. Just list Hex on Binance, which I'm sure won't happen.
They could easily do that. List it on Binance and rank it properly. Well, it probably is ranked properly now. It's probably 2,000 something.
Yeah, right.
With as low as the price has gone, but we kind of ran into this. So this I was just sitting here thinking about it. It could be another reason why I'm pretty calm through this, is because the amount of shit that we went through the first cycle early on, and this was one of them. The gatekeeping, and we finally got Nomics to list us properly.
Oh man, I miss Nomics. I forgot all about that.
Yeah, well, and then it got to the point where it was creeping up there. I think we got to number 4, number 3, and then all of a sudden, I forget the dude's name. Either way, it doesn't matter. They decided to remove the OA coins from it, and it was just one of those really weird FU kind of moves as we were getting close. And I really think that he had some outside pressure, possibly by CZ, possibly from some of the other ranking sites, to do that and remove the OA coins. And our argument at that point was, well, are you going to remove the million Satoshi coins? Like, we know they're not in circulation either. So why are you picking one token? How about the Clay? Thanks, Johnny. So there were just so many coins like that. Are you going to remove Ripple's foundation coins? Well, we know they dump them on people's heads. So no, they're not going to remove those. But it was just one of those things where every time we thought we caught a break or found a new alternative, and we pushed a lot of people in the direction of Nomics. We gave them so much business. The same with Uniswap. We made them popular too, and they end up, both of them, turning around and fucking us. So, everybody that we pushed for and gave them their head start, turn around and screwed us. So,
I want to respond. Well, sorry, finish your point. You'll enjoy this. No. So this Antoine tweet here, you may have seen, or not tweet, comment. You say he's gate kept, and sure, I agree. Do you remember him talking trash about them and everyone else? Also, you wonder why they wouldn't like him or don't like him or won't do business with him. I mean, that logic makes no sense to me. Like, so CZ is a dumb enough person that, I don't even think it's true that he dislikes Richard Hart or anything like that. As a matter of fact, I think that Richard Hart's attorneys have been helping him out through this process right now. So I don't think there's any real bad blood necessarily. But so you're going to compromise a product of yours because somebody's just talking shit about you or something like that. I mean, I don't really agree with that logic at all. I really don't think that's why. I think it's because Hexes and PulseChain now are actual true DeFi, and people just don't want to. Frank Molina's been on this bend, which has been fantastic. He's been putting a bunch of great content on his channel the last couple of days, some great tweets as well. And he went on a tirade today on Twitter that I absolutely loved, where he was like, I'm not here for crypto. Crypto's bullshit. Like most of crypto, as we know, is bullshit. Like everything you see that is crypto is not DeFi. We're talking about actual DeFi. These guys on these sites don't like DeFi. They don't want anything to do with DeFi. Even Uniswap, which allegedly is DeFi, is not DeFi, or, is censoring things and things like that. So these big entities are moving away from that. They don't want you, like CoinMarketCap and the exchanges and stuff like that. They want you to buy what is on the exchange and keep your stuff on the exchange. They want you to get into these blockchains that are heavily VC backed, where people have, we always talk about this, but when people invested seed rounds and stuff, it can dump on your head the whole way through. We are still more so in the Wild West, which may sound intimidating a little bit to some people, but it is still being built out. You're seeing more and more concrete good products like PulseX and stuff like that being built in Hex. And the fact that we're in the Wild West is also why the opportunity is there. We're not buying things on exchanges that some rich dude that you've never met is going to just crush the price down or ruin their product, like Ripple and their shitty XRP token. So
to answer Antoine, this is the real answer why they didn't like him, why they gatekept him, is because they wanted him to be a pay to play kind of guy, and join the rest of everybody who does pay and get listed and play their game. And he said, no, I'm absolutely not paying. I'm not doing it. We'll be just fine using Uniswap and DeFi, decentralized exchanges like that. So that's the real reason. So
that's a great point, Acid Thunder. Yeah. Thank you for saying that. Yeah, I think you just hit the nail on the head. And yeah, and kudos to RH. Like, how easy would it be to play that game?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, why wouldn't you do it? It's like a no-brainer for a lot of these other people, but you're compromising your product at the end of the day. Get this comment from Johnny real quick. He said, don't think the S load increase wasn't meant to snuff DeFi and drive traffic back to the exchanges? Explain what the S load increase is, Ewok, and what he means by that, because I think that's a good point too.
So Ethereum,
you don't have to get way too in the weeds. But.
Okay. Well, no. So the S load was a feature of when it actually does transactions, right? It adds to the GUI cost. And at one point, I think they did a 3.4 x increase in the S load cost, which basically meant the Hex stakes, the way they do the calculations to the end of the stake, they have to go through every single day. How many Hex per t-shirt did you earn that day? How many Hex per t-shirt did you earn that day? And so on and so on and so on. If you did 1,000-day stake, it had 1,000 of those to go and find and add up so that you could pay your yield at the end. And that's what the S load was the control of how much calculation was being done inside that transaction. It wasn't just a send or a trade or something like that. There was actually math being done. And the S load increase exactly at one point sent it, I think it was 3.4x higher than what it was before that. So
pretty significant.
Very significant. So who knows who was behind it or why? But again, we all know that they could remove that S load charge or fee and make things affordable. Make things affordable again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They could easily go back to that, and if the fees ever got outrageous, they could lower that fee to help out. So
yeah,
I agree. He's totally right.
Yeah. A lot of just events combined, to lead people away from DeFi. So that I just thought that was a great tweet by Frank Molina today, though, talking about because you don't typically see people differentiate between crypto and DeFi. It's just like crypto. I mean, even Richard Hart himself, like most people would just say crypto. But a lot of it is trash. A lot of it's just trash blockchains that are just pump and dumps for people to collect money, and dump on your head, and you're the liquidity.
And I don't know if many people know this or not, but I think from the time the Hex contract started up until PulseChain was released, there was over $40 million spent in fees on the Ethereum blockchain that were tied to or related to the Hex contract. Pretty interesting.
Yeah, crazy. Well, that was a great topic, and I'm glad we went off on those other tangents there. I think it was important to color that in because, again, a lot of these people that are kind of new to the market now and are just here, not just here because of PulseChain, but are largely here because of PulseChain and didn't know some of that stuff in the past with Hex. I think it's a good eye opener to know like the evolution of DeFi here and like where we've been coming from, so really good to fill in the blanks there. Turning our attention real quick to the other case thing. Now, this, I don't want to spend way too much time on it because frankly, it's kind of just frivolous to the nth degree to begin with. But so we talked a couple of weeks ago about this South Carolina case where this kid, the hot dog stand kid, I forget his name. It's like Noah or something like that. I always forget his name. But he had filed a lawsuit. He basically, I think he lost like $400 in Hex or something, wasn't it? And it was just because he bought the top and sold the low, essentially, and filed a lawsuit. So we found some interesting things here because this kind of came out of nowhere. Matty Allen was tweeting about it or talking about it a few weeks back. And not many people were aware of it. And it was like, oh, does RH's people even know about it? Did RH even show up for it or whatever? And I did send you, Matt, there you go, you got it. So there's some potential good news here. And I think Nuclear Herbs also did a response to this, but we'll kind of just read this real quick. So the case against Hex in South Carolina might be thrown out. The Florence case says stayed. Circuit Court says in abeyance. Both mean on hold, usually for months, because an appeal has been made to the South Carolina Supreme Court. The basis of the appeal, the Hague Convention, wasn't followed to serve RH. That Hague thing was even brought up with the SEC thing. Basically, a way to serve somebody overseas that they failed at, essentially, is what I think was basically what that means.
Yes.
The ambulance chasing lawyers violated court procedure when they initially concealed the identity of the hot dog vendor without first getting permission from the court. Oops, number one. Then they hired this is, I find interesting. They hired a private investigator who told the court he only looked for Richard in the USA, which we know he doesn't live. But the lawyers knew RH hadn't lived in the USA for over a decade. The SEC served RH, but these guys didn't. Oops, times two. South Carolinians suffered irrelevant subpoenas, flying around where they shouldn't have, violating several people and locking up Trevon in jail. Oh, yeah. Wow. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, he's down there too. For 2 nights because he didn't respond. Order of protection against subpoena and motion to reconsider were denied by the circuit court. A new alternative service law may not have been properly followed, so could be a bad precedent for all cases in the entire state. The timing of this appeal is unusual and baller because appeals usually happen after a case is decided, not at the beginning or middle. However, a strong argument is to be made that the past South Carolina courts held blah, blah, blah. I don't know if there's anything else we really need to get to here. It definitely sounds good. So essentially, much like a lot of the other things we're seeing in these cases, but especially in this rinky-dink case in South Carolina, they went about it entirely incorrectly, and it looks like try to, I don't know if I would say falsify service, but like didn't actually serve anybody and are trying to pass off. It reminds me of somebody else, but are trying to pass off something that wasn't really service as service. So yeah, what do you make of this? I mean, again, this isn't something I took all too seriously anyway. Obviously, I think we talked about this in great detail like a month or two ago whenever this really came out. But Nuclear Herbs did bring up good points about this, that, hey, there could be precedent that ends up being set here, and you at least want to have somebody show up, even if it is BS. Yep. You want somebody to show up to the event that they had like a month ago. We did have somebody show up on Rich's behalf. I think Ben Dubard is down there. It was around, I think, an attorney locally, Maddie and some people hooked up with to file an amicus brief and stuff like that. So that was the main thing. We wanted to make sure we had some kind of representation down there, and that did happen. So,
yeah. And I think that was one of the reasons why it was brought, because I think they thought nobody would do anything. Yeah. And they probably would have gotten away with it if it weren't for those rotten kids. Mm-hmm. The old Scooby-Doo saying. So,
yeah.
You didn't follow what I was saying, but either way,
I'm not a big. Yeah, go ahead.
I agree. The biggest part of this, the biggest take that I got out of it was Richard or nobody was actually served, and they can't lie about service, especially when they didn't look outside the U.S. where they knew the guy lived. It's not like, excuse me, it's not like they were just magically going to shoot it into an inbox and he was going to accept it or anything like that. So that's the biggest part. You can't have a case, you can't bring somebody into a case when they're not even serviced properly. So that's the biggest part of this whole thing, that makes it just essentially able to be thrown out. Now, now that he has been served for a different case, it may be easier to. Nah, I don't even want to go there because I don't want to give him any ideas. So yeah,
I was going to say, I don't even know that he was actually served in that SEC case. I don't even know if he was.
He was.
Was there actually confirmation of it, or did they just kind of, because it seemed like it was close enough that they were just like, you know what,
Well,
let's just get this over with and engage it.
It obviously got to him to the point where he was, decided to hire some lawyers. So
yeah.
I don't know how it happened. I don't know how it went down. I don't know that ever really came out. It doesn't matter though, at this point, because he has been involved in it, obviously. As far as this one goes, though, obviously there wasn't service because they tried to serve him in the United States, and he doesn't even live here. So yeah. I'm glad this one. Hopefully, this gets thrown out as well. If they try again, they'll have to go a different route, obviously.
I'd be shocked by that. I'd be shocked if they continued with this at this point. Of course, I mean, if there's money to be made, okay, but I can't imagine that the hot dog kid would want to continue on with this at this point anyway. So,
no.
Yeah, but interesting that this news, and then more importantly, again, the Hex news with Binance and everything came out over the last couple of days anyway. So we'll keep listening to that. It's just good to see, like, even if it is small time stuff, that we are seeing something like this, some sentiment stuff turning around. You know what I mean? So
yep. And Johnny says they risk slander charges if they continue, which right. They're, again, dragging a name, dragging things through the mud that don't need to be.
Yeah, and lying. So, that usually doesn't work out too well. So, we have a couple more things to cover that are extremely bullish we're going to get into now. So if you guys are enjoying the stream, do us a favor, hit the like. We do this show every Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So appreciate you guys being here for sure. Active chat tonight.
Except next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday. We'll save that to the end. Yeah, we got an announcement to make here.
Not everybody may stay to the end. I wanted to throw it out there.
Well, that's the whole point.
Their fault.
You got to tease it. Okay. We have here's a better job of what you just did. We have a major announcement coming at the end of this show. If you miss it, it's going to affect how you are able to watch this channel in the future. So I don't want to get too into it, but things are massively changing for this channel next week. So stay tuned. Okay, so we got some bullish news here. So number one, we're going to talk about like the overall kind of bullish thing that we just saw from MetaMask that came out today. I mean, it'll totally wreck people, but it'll be bullish for us. We'll get into that, and then we're going to transfer that, because it does kind of have to do with this, into two new kind of amazing ways to get onboarded into PulseChain. So we have big things coming here. People are trying to open up the floodgates for retail to come into these markets in any way that they can. I sent you the tweet from MetaMask earlier today, Ewok. We'll start off there. There you go. So we've got a MetaMask card. Okay, the world's first MasterCard debit card that enables instant spending directly from your self-custody wallet. We've teamed up with MasterCard and whatever that is, BandX Group, to bridge the gap between crypto and daily life. With a MetaMask card, every day can be crypto pizza day. Weird. MetaMask card allows you to make purchases directly from your wallet with your crypto instantly converted to fiat currency. I'm sure the fees are horrible. You can use it for everyday spending via Apple Pay and Google Wallet, retaining full control of your funds until the moment of transaction. Let's see here. I'm just kind of going down the thread. MetaMask card allows you to make purchases directly from your wallet with your crypto instantly. I already said that. The partnership leverages the scale of MasterCard's network, blah, blah, blah. Because this is a brand new feature, a select number of users in the EU and UK will be the first to experience seamless crypto spending directly from their MetaMask wallet wherever MasterCard is accepted. Keep an eye out for MetaMask portfolio and look for the card tab. If you're not eligible, blah, blah, blah. So what do you make of this? I'm not going to get into like the fine print and the terms and conditions because I'm sure that this is going to be an extremely suboptimal way to buy crypto. I'm just guessing. Anytime, usually you pay for convenience. The more convenient something is, you're paying for it somewhere. So yeah, but this figures to be very bullish for getting retail into this market. So you're going to have stuff like this. I mean,
I don't
what are you
agree.
saying? Why?
So this is not an onboarding tool. This is an offboarding tool. This is going to allow people to spend their crypto on a card, just like the crypto.com card does. This is not an onboarding. This is a spending. You can spend your crypto on your card. Basically, you do the same thing crypto.com does, right? You move it to the account that goes with your card. And it sits there and you can spend it just like cash. Usually what happens is as soon as you put it into that wallet, it gets converted to USD now, or USDC, whatever it may be. And that's how it gets spent. And then you can transfer it back out of that wallet and into your crypto too. So you can go back and forth. But this is not really an onboarding tool. This is more of an offboarding. So it's an off ramp essentially.
Yeah, I guess I wasn't actually using reading comprehension when I was reading through it. But the stuff I was reading earlier today, I thought there was indications that you could also just buy with a card through MetaMask. But either way, whether it's in and out, we are going to continue to see this kind of stuff in this space as the bull market continues on, from like MetaMask exchanges and stuff like that. People want to make onboarding and offboarding really easier and easier when it comes to crypto. And you're going to see definitely, again, the more convenience things are, I think the more you're going to end up paying for it. So this is an interesting thing. We're going to see more and more stuff for, easier ways to use MetaMask and everything. And I think that's going to continue. I don't know if you had any other further thoughts on this. It's not quite as exactly what I thought it was, but
well, that's okay because there is a buy. I think there is a buy section too that has kind of appeared on MetaMask. And I do agree with Acid Thunder. They've been kind of shady in the past. I
like the fox joke. We've made that joke before.
Yeah, how the fox follows you around, especially when you're typing in your password. It's always
very weird.
It is very shady. Yeah. It's also very shady how they can track your movements and things like that. They at one point wanted to KYC everything, and so there is a way around it. And I don't know if you guys know about it. We'll probably talk about it more another time. But instead of using the Infura node? There is a local one that we can kind of, we can talk about that another time. But there's ways around that being on that main node that actually does track your transactions and things like that. Anyway,
they're also just very famous for implementing little new features like that, and you are by default opted into them. Like there's many times where MetaMask will make updates and then conveniently just have the switch turned on for the thing that you don't want to be on. And usually we'll see a Twitter thread about it or somebody make a cool video and we'll go in and change MetaMask settings, like with the Infura thing too. So Acid Thunder RPC settings and stuff like that. So that's that. I don't know if you have any further thoughts on that, but we can get to the two PulseChain centric ones here before.
Not on this one. This one didn't really excite me as much as the other two.
Yeah, no. Well, yeah, certainly not that. I just thought it was an interesting thing in terms of the overall market. But let's start with 0x Coast. So we are seeing Coast actually get back into the swing of things. It's one of Ewok's favorite ways, many people's favorite ways to get onboarded into PulseChain. Because, historically, you've been able to just get on with an ACH transfer, buy the stablecoin like CST token and kind of be on your way. They just announced a new partnership with Old Glory Bank, which I'll be honest, I didn't even really know of. But from everything I've seen about it, I mean, looks awesome and very freedom and America centric. But they've announced a partnership with them, and all 50 states in the United States are now eligible for an account. this is big, and I know you were looking into this a little bit earlier today. I don't know if you actually got your Old Glory Bank account, but you were talking about that as well. But this seems like an optimal decision for them, at least here in the States, for Coast, and I'm glad that they're getting things back up and running. And it seems like we actually have like the most convenient way of transacting to get into PulseChain coming from Old Glory Bank that we've had at all before with Coast. So explain what you know about this partnership, Ewok, how big this is for Coast and PulseChain as a whole right now.
So I had to, I was a customer of Coast when they turned it back on. Just today, I was in there looking around. I did have to go through the KYC again, which, fine, whatever. I've already done it once, not a problem. Right. And then I went in to look at and see how the new thing worked. Because before you could use, I forget whether it was Stripe or whatever it was, connected right to your bank account, and you could get money in that way. This way is kind of interesting because what you do is create a checking account with Old Glory. You can send money in there. You can direct deposit money into that account, just like a normal checking account. And from there, let's go here. It shows you right how to do it. Basically, you fund it with your Old Glory Pay, which is an app essentially. And they have you log into your pay, and from here you go to your spending and pay, and you go to Coast. You just type Coast in here and it comes up, and you send it right into directly from your Old Glory account right into your Coast account. So it transfers pretty immediately. And yeah, it's nice and seamless. So I haven't done it yet. I haven't signed up for the Old Glory account. I just saw somebody in the comments, though, say that they denied an application,
but I've been
didn't
talking
give a
to
reason. Yeah. Okay. So did you, I wonder if they signed up as a personal account or a business account. If you
I'm seeing John Wallace say something about like whether your account is tied to an LLC or something like that. I don't know. Interesting. I mean, this is so new, and I haven't had a chance to apply for one either, so I can't say anything here or there. Yeah.
But either way, it's not going to hurt to have another checking account, and especially one that's user friendly, especially with an onboard straight to PulseChain, right? I mean, eventually the Ethereum fees could get expensive. Right now, bridging is an easy option. Would you say it cost you $1?
That's what I was just saying to Meditation in Motion, and I understand. I mean, if you want to, I understand wanting to use Coast. I totally get it, and I would want to do it too. But I did want to let him know. Now it's not going to be this way later. But right now, Gwei is so insane. Right now, they literally. I just showed this to you the other day, Ewok. But on EtherScan, they started showing decimal points for Gwei. Yeah. Like they usually be like, oh, it's 9, oh, it's 18, oh, it's 6 or whatever. Now, like it was 0.9543 or something the other day. Right, so I mean, you're seeing, and I will tell you, when you're seeing Gwei below like 4, you're paying less than $2 to bridge. So I understand like people not wanting to pay bridge fees, and in different times, if Gwei's like even over 20, it kind of even becomes a little annoying. But I mean, it costs almost nothing right now. So anyway, for now. Yeah. But anyway.
But either way, this is pretty slick. And again, if you do have a check, you can probably get it to you have the same checking information. You'll probably be able to direct deposit some if you want to DCA that way. And then don't forget, if you lock up your weight token, you can get the fee all the way down to 1%. So the fees on Coast are very affordable, and it doesn't cost much. I think it was 100,000 weight tokens, which I haven't even looked at a price of those, but at one point you could do it for 30, 40, 50 bucks to just get that 1% and probably pay a lot of fees down in the future if you're going to use it. So a very good alternative. I'm quite impressed with these guys. It looks like they've set it up now. The one thing that they were talking about was redundancy. I don't know that there's a backup plan if these guys happen to change their mind or do whatever. Obviously, it's pretty a strong relationship. Again, I don't know, but it's very bullish to see these type of things coming into play, right? So,
yeah. And just good to see them back. I mean, it's just good to see Coast back up and
yep,
running again because, you know,
yep,
it's been, again, one of the best ways to onboard, and we were without them for months because of
yep,
not really many faults of their own, just trying to narrow down more banks for people to use and stuff like that. So,
yep.
yeah.
Very cool.
And it is, remember that it is an option. I mean, like it's a good one, but it doesn't mean you have to use it. Like I understand meditation, emotion, you know, talking about not wanting to bridge and stuff. But again, bridging has been okay lately. There's multiple different bridges you can use. But frankly, I've just been using the straightforward PulseChain bridge recently because Gwei is just absolutely dirt cheap. So
well, remember, people are very hesitant to bridge because historically bridging is dangerous. They did, when these guys, the developers, were hired to do this, they did pick the bridge that had never been attacked or hacked. So, there is that, but that doesn't mean it's flawless, right? I mean, who knows what? I think anything could probably be hacked with enough trying. So, I don't blame people for wanting a non-bridge option, and I think this is a perfect example of if you can get a checking account with them with Old Glory and set up an account with Coast. It seems pretty flawless. I'll get to work on it here. I don't know if we'll get to do it before I go on vacation, but I want to get at least a checking account set up and see how easy it is.
Yeah. And to the bridge point, I mean, like, also make it a point not to, like, make sure you don't have, if you're sending over a stable coin of some sort, don't have, like, a limitless approval for the bridge to access whatever stable coin and whatever amount they want to at any time. You know, you can always use revoke.cash to revoke permissions from the bridge or anything else if you want to, too. So it's also a good practice for anything, any DEX you use or anything like that, to do that occasionally. So, moving on to the last thing here, because I want to get us out of here after this, but another good onboarding thing. Crypto Coffee just tweeted about this yesterday, I think it was. Alchemy Pay and PulseChain DAO create a new way to onboard with a credit card. Now, again, this could be another thing if you're worried about security or don't want to use bridges or something like that. Or maybe even more importantly, if you don't give a shit about fees or anything and you're like, wow, I want to get these prices. I'm not going to have like cold hard cashish coming in for a little while. So I just want to go ahead and ape in. Doing it via credit card, even with a high fee, may be for you. So we do have that here. I'm trying to find it so I can read it off to myself here. Yep, you got it. Yeah, I'm just pulling it up on my end so I can. There we go. So, yeah, good PulseChain news. Pulse just got easier to buy. The PulseChain Foundation DAO has collaborated with Alchemy Pay to make onboarding easier worldwide. Available globally, including USA, KYC, selfie, and ID required. Easy to buy with Google Pay, Apple Pay, Visa, MasterCard, Skrill, and more, depending upon where you live. Process takes 10 minutes, approximately a 5% fee, $2,000 limit per buy. 50K limit monthly. I didn't see the 2,000 thing, so $2,000
per buy.
per buy. If you are a builder and want to integrate the Alchemy Pay widget on your app, such as at Internet Money IO, please DM me privately, yada yada. GainPulseChain.com is my preferred way to buy personally, which is Coast, but it's good to have options like this. It's ramp.alchemypay.org. So another good way to do it, and I mean, I've avoided doing credit card stuff in the past just because, that usually been able to get in, quickly enough and cheap enough otherwise. But I think it's another good option. And anything, Dejin Moonboy, like the thing that I think people are maybe missing with some of these, like I may look at this, or some people may look at it, or Coast, or some of these other things and say, well, that's not really optimal for me. I would rather just do it this way. That's fine but what you want to realize is this is also focused on retail, and the more people that are coming in that may not care. And remember, there's going to be massive FOMO at some point. Now, we've not really experienced that, in 3.5 years, but there is going to be massive FOMO at some point, and people may not care about fees as much. They may have a big enough clip that they want to enter in that they just don't care what the fee is, and they just want to get in because the price is rising up. So you're going to see some absolute moronic decisions by people. And, I'm not saying that buying PulseChain is moronic, but at any token at the end of a market cycle, you may be buying into, toward a top, and people will do that with lots of money. I mean, it's happened before. I've done it. Many of us have done it.
That's what green candles do to people.
Exactly. So yeah, what do you make of this one, Ewok? It reminds me of there's another one kind of similar to this. I forget what it's called now, but yeah, I think
Change Now.
Yeah, I think it's just that.
It reminds me a lot of Change Now as well. It's very similar. I think that 5% is a little much, but again, like you said, you're in a hurry. These things are pretty quick. I think it goes through pretty quick. You're not relying on waiting on a bridge, things like that. So sometimes you do pay a fee for speed. So I think it's again a good thing. Some people aren't going to care about 5%. Coinbase is 3%, so extra 2% for convenience. You put your card in, you do what you need to do. You hit buy now, you put your address in, and boom, it goes right to your address. There's no waiting on a bridge. There's no waiting on transfers. You don't have to exchange anything. It just all happens pretty seamlessly. So sometimes that extra 2% or whatever for convenience, some people think it's worth it, So it is nice to have these other options now. I think we've got 5 onboarding, fairly easy options. Yeah. So this is definitely maybe 6. So it's exciting. It's exciting to see. It's definitely, again, one of the reasons why I think that, with all these new options, it's making it a lot easier. Hopefully we start to see it pay off a little bit.
Yeah, I'm glad to see more stuff come in. I mean, it's basically just showing, institutional ways to get in, bigger people and retail being able to get in. Again, there's going to be people that will see the prices going up and will just ape in. I mean, there was a specific token. I specifically made an absolutely horrible one huge DCA buy at nearly its all-time high last cycle, and just absolutely ate shit for months and years after that. And people will do that. I mean, if we've done it before, it's obvious that people are going to do it again. The difference is, are you one of the people that did that, stuck around, doubled down on your thesis and gotten in even better investments and stuff like that, and just endured the pain along the way? Or did you quit and go back to buying stonks and stuff like that?
It's almost a rite of passage.
Exactly. We've all got to do it. I bought Phantom at like $3.10 with a not small sum for myself, and I think it went to maybe $3.50, $3.60 before eventually falling to about 16 cents at some point. So yeah, there you go. Anyway, and that wasn't the only token I did it with, and I'm sure a lot of you guys in the chat have done similar things. So there are other potential things we could have gotten to tonight, but I need to get out of here, and I think you probably do too. And we'll make our little announcement right now that we will not have a show next week, August the 21st. We will be absent. Ewok is going on a little vacation. I am going on a little vacation. And also, if you guys are like us, any of you out there, the end of August, beginning of September brings a certain amount of busyness and changes in some people's lives. So a little of that dealing with as well. But we're going to take what I think is a well-deserved week off next Wednesday. I toyed around with potentially firing something up and talking with somebody, but I'll be honest, I'd really like to have a week off doing the show. I love you guys. I have a lot of fun doing this, but I mean, every now and then, I think everybody needs to unplug for a little bit. So we'll see. Maybe we could come up with something, but the plan for now is to just take a week off, to have a little bit of chill time. So anything you want to add to that, Ewok?
No, if you decide to do something though, I can probably log in with the cell phone, at least to say hello.
I'll let you know. It would be like a special circumstances or something really interesting in the market happened. I've really been enjoying, much echoing the stuff Frank Molina has been talking about lately. I've really been enjoying unplugging from stuff. Now, doing this show is one thing. I mean, we're talking in real life. We're like kind of doxed, where we hear providing nuance and actually speaking to each other and speaking to the chat. We're not like doing the Twitter stuff like that. That's what I've tried to get away from. But
yeah, for sure.
I'm welcoming in chances to decompress from the market because it really does inspire you with different thoughts. It helps you see things a little bit more clearly. There's way too much minutia, being on, and I'm not even just blaming social media, but just kind of being in the consciousness of it. Even if you're watching tons and tons of stream all the time, thinking about it all the time, checking the prices all the time, it's just, you're too close to it. Like there's not a way to look at things fresh and feel good about it. That's something I've realized a lot over the last few months, So, so we will likely be off next week, but we appreciate all you guys so much. Thanks for a great show tonight. We will definitely be back by August the 28th at 6:30. So, Chris Brun, DJ and Moonboy, Angry Beaver, Take a Break with Jake for producing the show, Tin Top, Acid Thunder, John Wallace, Meditation in Motion, Johnny Chaos, Chronic Carl, so many others. Thank you guys for being here tonight. We're going to keep DCN. We're at the lows. Going to put a big clip in here in the next couple of days. So we will see you guys within 2 weeks here. This has been Boi Crypto for Crypto Ewok on the Creed of Crypto live stream. See you guys.
See ya.